I'm Alex Cross, and this is Episode 2 of Shadows of Evidence. This series examines real-life crimes with meticulous detail. Some of what you're about to hear is deeply disturbing and not suitable for younger viewers. Protect yourself and those around you while following this story. If you're unsure about continuing, now is the moment to pause. This is not entertainment. It's investigation. No jokes, no exaggeration, just the facts as they unfold. Remember, the goal here is understanding, not shock value. With that said, let's examine what happened in this case, step by step. Dee Warner, 52, lived on a family-owned farm in Tipton, Michigan. Her husband, Dale Warner, 57, was involved in the farm's daily operations. On April 25, 2021, Dee disappeared without explanation. This case involves her mysterious disappearance, suspected foul play, and a complex investigation spanning years. For now, the details of what happened remain unfolding, building a story that investigators have meticulously pieced together. Her life followed a rigid structure built around responsibility. Mornings were spent on phone calls, paperwork, and decisions tied to the trucking and agricultural businesses. Employees relied on her daily involvement. Even on weekends, she remained active in operations. At home, her schedule was equally fixed. She managed a large blended family with routines that rarely shifted. If Dee said she would be somewhere, she was there, without exception. 2 days before her disappearance, family members noticed a change. Her nephew later recalled that she seemed quieter and distracted, a departure from her usual sharp humor and confidence. Around the same time, Dee confronted issues within the trucking business. She raised concerns about finances and accountability, expressing frustration that support was lacking. These were not emotional outbursts, but measured conversations centered on control and responsibility. Family members later confirmed that Dee had been discussing divorce and asset division. These discussions were practical, forward-looking, and unresolved. Nothing suggested she was preparing to leave her child, abandon the business, or disappear without explanation. Dee Warner's absence quickly became alarming. Her Hummer and Cadillac remained outside. Inside, nothing had been packed, but her purse, phone, and overnight bag were gone. Family members searched the property. Barns, fields, storage areas. Nothing. Dale Warner maintained she had left voluntarily, pointing to her wedding ring and suggesting she would return. Those closest to Dee found this difficult to reconcile. She had never abandoned responsibilities or left her child. The farm's size complicated matters. Areas like barns, storage tanks, and industrial equipment could easily conceal a person. As days passed, the absence of evidence suggested Dee had not left the property voluntarily. Investigators began to consider the land itself and what could have happened there. What happened next would later shock investigators. But first, they had to build a full picture. With voluntary disappearance unlikely, investigators faced a challenging puzzle. There was no confirmed crime scene, no body, no clear moment of crisis. The absence itself became the focal point. Digital data placed Dee on the property. Phones showed no calls or messages after a certain point. Financial accounts remained untouched. Dale Warner repeated his account. An argument, then Dee leaving voluntarily. This explanation required multiple unlikely assumptions. Leaving without transport, abandoning a child, disengaging from businesses, and not accessing money. None supported by evidence. Investigators analyzed road cameras, cell towers, and access logs. Nothing showed her leaving. Meanwhile, after her disappearance, some business assets shifted to Dale's control. Documents appeared bearing Dee's signature, dated after she vanished. Physical evidence on the farm drew attention. Equipment was moved, areas repainted, maintenance continued. Days after she disappeared, her brother remembered seeing Dale repaint a rusted fertilizer tank inside a barn. At the time, it seemed minor, but years later, it would be crucial. The investigation spanned years. Private detectives assisted. Police reviewed every detail quietly, waiting for a breakthrough. In late 2023, Dale Warner was arrested, charged with murder and evidence tampering. Investigators alleged Dee had been killed on the property and her body concealed. The final piece, Dee's body, remained missing. In 2024, investigators revisited the farm. A sealed industrial fertilizer tank inside a barn revealed what had been hidden. Imaging confirmed human remains. Dental records identified Dee Warner. Cause of death: strangulation and blunt force trauma. The body's location was deliberate within an active work area. It had remained overlooked for years. Dale Warner had already been charged in November 2023. He pleaded not guilty. Prosecutors argued planning and concealment. Defense claimed others had access to the property. As of now, Dale remains in custody, awaiting trial. In August 2024, Dee's family held a burial, more than 3 years after she disappeared. It was a moment of closure in one sense, but not justice. Dee Warner's disappearance shows how a life embedded in routine and responsibility can still vanish within familiar systems: families, workplaces, land. Investigations do not always progress via dramatic breakthroughs. Often they rely on patience, contradictions, and small anomalies that accumulate over time. Explanations can seem reasonable until tested against time. Dee did not leave behind a trail, disengage from her child, or abandon responsibilities. What failed was assumption, the belief that events reveal themselves immediately. Here, they did not. The outcome now rests with the court. Facts will be tested, responsibility weighed. Until then, certainty exists only in what has been proven. Cases like this don't resolve cleanly. They reveal the pace of truth and the fragility of assumptions when circumstances are manipulated. For those following closely, this story demands attention, not reaction. If you want to continue exploring cases analyzed carefully and thoroughly, consider subscribing and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. Each detail, each anomaly has built a case piece by piece, showing the persistence and patience required to uncover truth. The court will decide the final responsibility. Until then, what is known stands: a life disrupted, a family affected, and evidence painstakingly gathered. This is Shadows of Evidence. We bring the facts. No exaggeration, no distraction. Just the story as it unfolded.